I mean, I am trying to think of my next book. I have one finished that is a draft that I don't know if I want to go into, and I'm deciding if I want to write another prose series or not, or stick. So it's like that. I am trying to figure out what I'm going to spend a lot of time in, because that's a different beast. Sitting for me, that's a different beast to sit down and write a novel.
Oh
Because
yeah,
I'm
I can imagine. That's a
yeah.
whole different just the detail that goes into a novel versus any sort of script. We have, specific details in comic scripts and, film scripts,
Hmm.
we get like a certain amount of details, but like prose is just a different level. It's a different level
Yeah.
of just sensory. It just completely. You have really like pouring everything into there. And it very much is like almost like a step by step type of thing, depending on how you
Hmm.
write. Which I mean, with comics, you're jumping, time like jumps between panel to panel that could go from, mere seconds to like years or days or
Yeah.
anything. And like, I don't know, prose is just such a different beast to tackle on no matter what. It's something that I wish I could really climb in back into and like, work on like a novella or like a series
Hmm.
like that, because I really had so much fun playing it. And it was just so challenging. Do you
Yeah.
feel like prose really does like kind of prime you for these other mediums though, because of how much gets poured into it?
It it does. I mean, prose is hard because it's like you. I like it in one way. The one thing that I'm really good at in prose is the action. I'm
Mhm.
really good at and it's because of my screenwriting background. The transitioning and the action and getting a scene going really fast. I'm really good at. And then what I have to remind myself about is like, you have to sit in this moment, Jessica, and you have to really bring the reader here. You can't, it's not a screenplay, it's not a comic. There's going to be no visuals. Like like I have to remind myself it's my job a lot of the times
And to, like,
because
just pause the world and the universe and, like,
yeah,
sit in that moment.
we
Yeah.
need to, I have to make the reader come here with me. And that's when it's a little harder for me because I'm so used to the other mediums. And so then I have to like retrain my brain. And, so I mean, it's been a lot easier because I've written a trilogy over the last 5 years. I'm now writing short stories all the time. But at first I was like, just remember, you are not writing a screenplay right now. You can't just like cut around and, it's a little different. I mean, you can cut around, but yeah. And then I think what helps was, from the prose writing to like screenplay writing or to comic writing is you're just so used to like creating like a whole chapter, creating a scene, doing this whole thing. Um, it's really nice because your brain already paints that all out. So
Mhm.
I'm already have a very visual mind because I have to like because I need to see it, and so
Mhm.
that does help a lot when you're trying to decide what's important to tell an artist, like what they need to be told and what they don't need to be told. Which is I
The
also
hard
learned that
part.
I also learned that from the artists. They're like what they ignore and what they don't ignore. And
I'm finding how different
yeah,
artists work too
yeah.
with that, and it's always I've had artists tell me to put more detail into things, and I've had
Hmm.
artists tell me to subtract detail. And so now I found
Yeah,
like a very like middleman like way of writing my first script to a new artist and
yeah.
being like, do you need me to add more? Do you need me to subtract more? And then once I get what they need as a creator, that's where I just like kind of let the reins go and be like, I've done what you've asked for, and I'll
Yeah.
let you just like, push out the rest. And sometimes it's just like mind blowing where I'm just like, you're adding stuff that I would have never thought of. Or, you've really,
Hmm.
that's a cool thing about collaboration. They can
Yeah.
transform your idea into something that is just beyond what your imagination could even start to think of.
Yeah.
But with prose, you really are just like a solitary act for the most part, just trying to
Hmm.
envision that. And I mean, like whenever I do any sort of script writing, it's literally a movie playing in my head over and over. I play the scene in like just
Yeah.
on repeat until I could visually like clearly see it, and then I could actually transcribe it and detail it. Kind of like talking about something you have no idea about, where it's just
Yeah.
like you're like, I could get through this, but it won't be as good as if I would have actually done like the full homework. And it's like
Hmm.
that's the way writing kind of works. Like you got to do the homework in your head to like be able to get it out of your system and actually be clear and concise. Because I feel a lot of writers, and you've probably encountered this yourself, like they put out so much onto the page, but then you're kind of realizing like, oh, this is the way you understood it, but you're not putting it in a way for like anybody else, like an artist or a collaborator, to fully understand your vision.
Hmm.
And that's where
Yeah.
writers seem to get frustrated and stuck.